During my recent trip to Singapore for the Duke-NUS School of Medicine graduation ceremony, I had an opportunity to talk to the esteemed cancer researcher, Dr. David Virshup. He has led the cancer and stem cell biology program since the school was established nearly 20 years ago. We discussed his work, his collaborations with U.S. colleagues, and how he came to Duke-NUS in the first place. So David, you were recruited here by Pat Casey, who at the time I believe was the Senior Vice Dean for Research, and you're one of the early members of the research community. So what attracted you to Duke-NUS?
So I was attracted by a couple things. One is the opportunity to get involved with a physician scientist-oriented medical school, which I'm a physician scientist. I thought that was cool. Duke, I highly respected. And then Pat Casey, I had known because we had shared beers at study section and thought he was an outstanding person, great human being, and I had the pleasure to work with. And the adventure, the thrill-seeking gene, both my wife and I thought, hey, how often do you get the opportunity to move around the world to start a medical school?
And you stayed.
And we stayed. Well, I was right about Pat. He is a great person to work for. And then Sandy was able to recruit Ranga, and we went from this tiny nucleus of people to this fantastic group we have here today, because the school's going great.
So having a connection between Duke-NUS and Duke, how does that facilitate you and your colleagues' research?
So, we're really fortunate to have Duke as the mothership. So we're a small school. We have 50-odd faculty, but we have the resources of Duke so that, for instance, when we need to do metabolomics, Chris Newgard comes out and helps us set it up. If we want to get involved, so Tiong Ong has this great program looking at metastasis to the brain, and Carrie Anders has a huge program at Duke, so the two of them have a connection. So we can really leverage our small faculty here with all the resources that Duke has, and that really powers us.
So I understand in your own research, you have had recent success in a candidate potentially for pancreatic and colorectal cancer. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So we work on Wnt signaling, and Wnt has been implicated in cancer for over 40 years, and people have wanted to drug it but have failed. And so we took a different approach. People have tried drugging it downstream. We went upstream and developed a small molecule inhibitor of an enzyme that's required for Wnt secretion. The enzyme is the great name of porcupine. And partnering with A-Star here, we came up with a drug that has now gone into early phase 2. It's showing some promise in some areas. Another thing about the drug is it's powered my lab because it's a very powerful tool to study the pathway. And then we've made some discoveries about the Wnt pathway, like, for instance, how Wnt controls stem cell division by using this drug to see what's downstream of Wnt in that direction. So that's given us new directions to go in our research.
Well, that's very exciting. So if you were talking to your colleagues back in Durham, what would you tell them about the opportunities to either collaborate or come to Duke-NUS?
So part of my job is to go back to Durham and tell my colleagues there. And what I tell them is that so what's different? Why bother coming out halfway around the world to the small medical school? Well, because Asia is different than the West. And there are Asian-specific diseases, things that are common here and are not yet common in the U.S., like dengue. So if you're interested in RNA viruses or you're interested in dengue, this is the place to be. And so we had Mariano Garcia Blanca out here because of his interest in RNA viruses. And then we have EBV. EBV is common everywhere, but the manifestations are different here. They form different kinds of cancers. And so Mika Luftig is interested in coming out and comparing the Asian EBV cancers with the Western EBV diseases. So those kind of opportunities. The third example would be metabolomics and liver disease. Asian diabetes and Asian fatty liver is different than in the West. And so by comparing and contrasting, you can learn a lot. So there's a lot of opportunities here to leverage on the comparisons to make, and the large population sizes to make your research go better.
And then there are the global challenges like pandemics and climate change.
And that affects Asia sometimes a little bit faster, and so there's things to worry about there too.
Well, we certainly have appreciated your ability to engage at Duke and are looking forward to your returning.
Thank you.